Vishana Balaba Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasona Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Paramahansa Rajagacharya Astarasi Swadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Ram Sagahal Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Gang Chamona Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Go Premanandi all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Buddhade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 Chapter 48 Verse 1 Sri Sukha Uvacha Atha Vigyaya Bhagavan Sarva Atma Sarva Darshanaha Sairandriya Kama Taptaya Priyam Ichan Griham Yayo Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Ata, then, Avigyaya, understanding, Bhagavan, Supreme Lord, Sarva, of all, Atma, soul, Sarva, of everything, Darshana, seer, Sairandrya, of the serving girl, Kama, by lust, Taptaya, troubled, Priyam, satisfaction, Ichan, wanting, Griham, to her house, Yayo, he went. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, next after assimilating Uddhava's report, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omniscient soul of all that be, desired to satisfy the serving girl, Trivakra, who was troubled by lust. Thus he went to her house. Purport, this text gives an interesting insight into the Lord's pastimes. The first line says, Atavigyaya Bhagavan, thus the Lord, understanding Uddhava's report. The second line states that Lord Krishna is the soul of everything, Sarvatma, and the seer of everything, Sarvadarshana. In other words, although he certainly does not depend on spoken reports from messengers, he plays the part of a human being and listens to news from a messenger, not out of need as we do, but in the bliss of his spiritual pastimes, exchanging love with his pure devotee. The word Sarvadarshana also indicates that the Lord perfectly understood the feelings of the residents of Vraja and was perfectly reciprocating with them within their hearts. Now in his external pastimes, he desired to bless Srimati Trivakra, who was about to be freed from the disease of material lust. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, next after assimilating Uddhava's report, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omniscient soul of all that be, desired to satisfy the serving girl Trivakra, who was troubled by lust. Thus he went to her house. So this begins another story, that is Kubja, who was present in Mathura. And here there's a little description of her, Kama Taptaya. She was completely agitated by Kama. So, of course, the word Kama is a little ambiguous. Normally, the word Kama refers to material desire, material lust, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, etc. And it has no good function as far as spiritual life is concerned. On the other hand, we also hear for instance, in the Nectar of Devotion, when Rupa Goswami is talking about the gopis, he says that they are kamatma, that they are filled with kama also. So obviously that's a different kama. So that means prema. But a prema of a certain sort, that is madhurya prema. Prema and madhurya rasa. So that's also called kama. So definitely the gopis didn't have any material contamination, and they had the highest type of prema in madhurya rasa. So in that sense, the kama does not have a bad connotation at all, rather a very good connotation, being intensity of their love. And then this is in relation to Raganuga Bhakti. So then he says that actually those can follow after the Kamatmaka Bhaktas and Braja. So they're called Kamanugas, following after those devotees. So this is a spiritual practice in Raganuga, follow after the gopis. So nothing, there's no tinge of criticism there at all. And also, it is said in relation in the Bhagavatam itself that one can approach the Lord by different methods, by hatred or dvesha, by kama, and by sambandha and other methods. So there the word kama is usually taken to mean that is not material kama again, but the madhurya rasa of the gopis. So one can approach the Lord that one can approach with, of course, other relationships like sakya or vatsalya or dasya, even shanta. Therefore, the word kama does not have a bad connotation. So, on the other hand, we find here this Kubja is not praised in the same way. Her kama is said to be a little bit different. So we can say it's a negative sense of the word. Nevertheless, we can say it is also madhurya rasa. In that sense, it is kama in a good way. At the same time, her love cannot be compared to that of the gopis. The gopis' love in madhurya rasa is very exalted, whereas the love of Kubja is considered to be much inferior to that. So therefore it's distinguished here by saying it is kama or kama praya, as explained in the Nectar of Devotion, generally influenced by kama. However, we should also not think that Kubja therefore is a grossly materialistic person filled with material kama. Because how could she get a chance even to approach the Lord at all? And why would the Lord actually speak to her, talk to her, touch her, etc.? Unless she was also exalted in some sense. So therefore, we cannot also take her kama to be the gross kama of this material world. She had some special qualification by which she became an associate of the Lord in his pastimes. But at the same time, we understand that her position is much inferior to that of the gopis. At the same time, we find here a little bit of a relationship. Sukadev Goswami has been speaking about the gopis in Vrindavan and the message from Uddhava and the gopis' response and Radha's response and the song of the bee, etc. And now we find another story about Madhurya Rasa, but not on the same level, a little bit less, because her love is not so pure. So in Ujjvala Nilamani also, the love of the different persons in Madhurya Rasa is compared, and the gopis of Vraja are put at the top, and then after that we have the queens of Dwarka and such persons. And then we have a category with Kubja, persons like that, inferior type of love. So the intensity, we can say, is not so much. Therefore, nevertheless, Krishna accepted her. And obviously by his touch, if there were impurities, she became purified by that. And of course, it's also explained that by his touch, then her trivakra nature, which means her body was crooked, she straightened out and she became very beautiful and very, very attractive. So she ultimately, through association with the Lord, got a very high qualification, though still not on the same level as the queens of Dwarka or the gopis. So therefore, she cannot be criticized also because she got the association of the Lord and reached a very high level. So in this verse, as explained in the purport, it talks about Bhagavan, Vigyaya. The Lord understood everything. That means from the point of view of Uddhava's message, etc. So, though he is Bhagavan, and therefore he does know everything already, Sarvatma Sarvadarshana, he understood through the letter, through the report of Uddhava, the nature of the people, the present situation of the people in Vrindavan, whether they were pacified or not, etc. So, as explained in the purport, in one sense, he does not have to know. He is already in all knowledge. Yet, Krishna is, we can say, in his role as Krishna, he is Manusya. He is human. And therefore, he carries out the activities like a human, and he does not display his aspect as Supreme Lord. Of course, in Vrindavan, that's very much covered over. Even in Dwarka and Mathura, he does not always display his powers as the Supreme Lord, though he is Bhagavan. He does not overtly display his powers. So here is a case of that. He was very eager to hear from Uddhava, and he heard everything, and then he understood the situation there. Whereas as Supreme Lord, he already knew everything. But he's doing this. So we should not think also that this is just some superficial act, like an actor will do. He's acting in one way on stage, then he's something completely different. So then we can say, well, Krishna's just acting for the cowherd people, and he acts like he's ignorant, but actually he's all knowledgeable. Or here he's acting as if he's ignorant, but actually he knows everything. And therefore we can say that all of his whole actions with everybody is simply an act, and it's not real. But that doesn't make any sense either. How could he do that? That means all his whole pastimes are false. And he's putting on a show for people, but actually it's not very sincere at all, because he's beyond all that. So that doesn't also contradictory. We see that the Lord is controlled by his devotees, and that he's completely involved with his devotees. And therefore, he expresses astonishment and surprise and disappointment and things like this in different situations. If he's all knowledgeable and he's the soul of everything, then he would be peaceful and indifferent to all situations and not care. But here we see he has care for all the different devotees in different ways. And it is not artificial, it is not an act at all. For instance, it's explained when the cowherd boys they saw Aghasura and his big mouth open like that. They became very excited. Oh, what is this? Oh, maybe it's a demon. Maybe it's not a demon. Let's go inside. It's a big cave. Let's run inside the cave. So they all went running in the cave with the calves. And Krishna was astonished. He said, "Well, I can't even stop them." And he watched them go in the cave before he could even do anything. Now, of course, if he's Supreme Lord and he knows everything, he could also prevent it. But he didn't, and he also couldn't. They just went inside. So it's explained that his Leela Shakti was acting in this way. And therefore, after this happened, then the Leela Shakti arranged so that he could have a pastime of entering into the mouth of Aghasura, expanding himself, and then killing Aghasura, liberating him, and rescuing the cowherd boys. So that's an arrangement through the Leela. And Krishna himself was unaware of what was going to happen. He was so surprised when the boys ran into the mouth of Aghasura. So it was not just an act. He also had that appearance. He was actually very astonished. So we should not think that this is an act. We should also not think that therefore the Lord is ignorant. He allows his different Shaktis to operate within his pastimes. Why? Because this ultimately is what produces bliss in the pastimes in the spiritual world. If there's no activity and no emotions related to those activities, then there's no bliss. Nobody does anything. The Lord doesn't do anything. More like impersonalism. So the Lord has his Shaktis. He has his Hladini Shakti and his Samvit Shakti and his Samvit Shaktis. And within he has his Yogamaya potency and his, Leela Shakti and other Shaktis always operating to assist so that pastimes can go on continually between Krishna and his devotees. So in that, in those pastimes, then Krishna also becomes unaware. He's not acting as Sarvadarshana, seeing everything and knowing everything. If that were so, he could never get excited by anything because he knows the result of any activity and what's going to happen. Therefore, he does actually have feelings in relation to the particular pastimes, which are not false, though they may appear like us to be, from the point of view of Supreme Lord, that he's ignorant or something like that. But no, he allows himself to be influenced by his different Shaktis, which arrange things for him in his pastimes. So, though he is Bhagavan, and he is all-seeing, and he is understands every thought of every person as Supreme Lord, as Krishna, then that may get suppressed. And he will simply hear the report of Uddhava and get excited by the different facts that Uddhava reveals about the present situation of the people in Vrindavan, and how they responded to his letter, and how he'll be very amazed by the description of the gopis and by the song of the bee, etc. So all this was very exciting for Krishna. And through the hearing from Uddhava, then he also began to express his affection and to remember all the people of Vrindavan again. Of course, we could say, well, he already knows everything, and he's already, why does he remember anything? But within the pastimes, he begins to remember more and more the wonderful nature of the people of Vrindavan and his attraction to them. Therefore, the Lord has different personalities, but as Krishna, he often suppresses this idea of his being the Supreme Lord, and he is influenced by his Leela Shakti, his Yogamaya Shakti, etc., and he acts in different ways within the pastimes. He understood everything. Here, it of course, doesn't explain the details, but other places explain that Uddhava was very excited to reveal all this to Krishna. And part of this, of course, he revealed in private, not to all the Yadus, but personally to Krishna, particularly the parts about the gopis, etc. And he began to praise the people of Vrindavan as being supreme, superior to the Yadus, even though the Yadus were related to Krishna by family, etc. Still, the people of Vrindavan, they display greater devotion. So, this also was satisfying to Krishna to understand by the praise that Uddhava gave that it confirmed his own feelings and his attraction to the people of Vrindavan. So, in this way, he could be satisfied. And of course, his whole intention was to somehow appease the gopis, even though they were in separation and he would not be returning in the immediate future. He had to appease them. So Uddhava was successful at that also. So it's explained that within separation there is union. And in that union then there's greater bliss. I explained in the letter that Krishna gave, the superficial meaning was the Lord is everywhere and you can see him everywhere, so they don't feel separated. But the internal meaning was that the pastimes of separation are the visible pastimes, but we have the aprakat pastimes where Krishna is united with all the people of Vrindavan. And then if the people of Vrindavan, and particularly the gopis, meditate on those pastimes, eternal pastimes, aprakat pastimes, then they can enter into those pastimes, and then they're united with Krishna. So, in other words, they get some satisfaction even in that separation, because internally they can assume their other form in the aprakat pastimes and be united with Krishna, and then they get great bliss. Therefore, this was the instruction that Krishna gave them, and so therefore they were able to do this. They were able actually to transcend their feelings of separation and enter into the aprakat pastimes and get great bliss from that. So in this way, the people of Vrindavan would not perish; they would not die. Rather, they would get some relief from their suffering of separation. So by this, Krishna became somewhat satisfied. On the other hand, we do know that Krishna had obligations here and there. He had obligations to the Yadus. He had obligations to the Devatas, because he had promised that he would, kill all the demons and save them and whatever. So part of the work was done by killing Kamsa and his associates, but there were still followers of Kamsa and others around, like Jarasandha and Dantavakra and Shishupal, etc., who supported Kamsa originally. So he had to also kill all of these demons. So that was one duty. The other, of course, he had to associate with the Yadus, because he had been separated for 12 years or so from them. So he had to give them some association also. Apart from his obligation to the people of Vrindavan, he also had to do things outside of Vrindavan. So within the pastimes, therefore, we see the Prakat pastimes, we see that there is separation. He gave joy to the people of Vrindavan by being there for 12 years and performing all the pastimes described in the previous chapters of the 10th canto. And then he had to go to Mathura and Dwarka, and there he had pastimes with the Yadus and the Pandavas, and he gave them satisfaction. So within the Prakat pastimes, therefore, we find this division of being in Vrindavan and not being in Vrindavan. So there is periods of separation. In the Aprakat pastimes, as I explained, in one version says Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, so he's always there, and the pastimes go on and on and on in that way. Simultaneously, we also get another world, which is Mathura, and another world of Dwarka, and the pastimes go on there also. So there, Krishna is in three forms. He's in Vrindavan, he's in Mathura, and he's in Dwarka, and simultaneously the pastimes are going on there. And therefore there's no need to leave, because he's satisfying the Yadus, and of course there's no demons, so there's not to kill any demons. So that is the situation in the spiritual world. There are three different forms. There's no necessity of leaving. Whereas in the pastimes in the material world, then we get Krishna in one place, and he doesn't simultaneously have pastimes. He rather goes from one place to the other. So that's part of the pastimes in the material world. The one form goes to three different places. But simultaneously, the Aprakat pastimes are going on continually. So therefore we see there is two forms of the Lord. One invisible in the spiritual world, and one going on here in the material world. So all this is arranged by the desire of the Supreme Lord for certain reasons. Now he doesn't have to go from one place to another material world. He could have three forms also, but this is his way of doing things. There's some variation or some variety in his pastimes. So this we can say is one of the unique features of pastimes in the material world, is prolonged separation. And of course the demons, killing the demons, etc. And this adds a little variety to his pastimes as well. In this way the Lord makes special arrangements in the material world which are slightly different from those in the spiritual world, and also gives some sort of bliss. So Vishnu Chakravarti has commented that some say, he doesn't say who, but some people say that the pastimes that Krishna displays in the material world are even more attractive than those in the spiritual world. Because there's a little more variety there. There's a prolonged separation, etc. Actually, he kills the demons. He kills many demons, actually, whatever. And then he liberates the demons, and some of them go to spiritual world. So that doesn't take place in the spiritual world. And of course, Krishna also grows. So we have Krishna as a small child, baby, then he grows a little bigger, then he grows bigger, like that. So that gives a little extra bliss to the persons in different rasas. So the persons in Vatsalya rasa, like Nanda and Yasoda, get great joy from the baby form. And the cowherd boys get great joy from the Pauganda form when he's about 4 years old, 5 years old, etc., up to 8 years old. And then the gopis get great joy from his Kaishore age after 8 years. So, in the spiritual world, he is eternally Kaishore age. But here we find different Krishnas, different size Krishna, different ages of Krishna. So, adds a little bit of variety. So, for that reason, it is said that some people say that the activities of Krishna when he appears within the material world are even more sweet and relishable than those in the spiritual world. And of course, we can also understand when it says Krishna comes to the material world to protect his devotees, to kill the demons, etc. So the real reason, of course, he comes is not so much the killing of the demons and restoring dharma, but to give joy to the devotees. And these activities give joy even to the Nityasiddhas. They get great joy because it is different. We get Krishna as a small baby, Krishna as a 5-year-old boy, Krishna in Kaishore period, etc. So all of this gives joy even to the highest devotees, a special type of joy. Therefore, the descriptions in the Bhagavatam are considered to be very, very attractive because of this.
Maharaja, one who is a Jivan Mukta, he can see this uppercut and prakat pastimes.
A Jivan Mukta. Well, Jivan Muktas are usually considered, impersonalists. If we want to talk about devotees, then we talk about a devotee in prema.
Yeah.
Of course, we see the gopis who are Nityasiddhas. They were able to go from one stage to the other, uppercut, etc., by the arrangement of Krishna. Now, if Krishna doesn't want to, he won't allow them to switch back and forth or whatever. But by his arrangement, they can do so. Now, people who have done sadhana and attained bhava and prema, then they can participate in the Lord's pastimes, which are the uppercut pastimes. They can also participate in the prakat pastimes if they get born in a particular universe where Krishna is having his pastimes, and they are able to participate in those pastimes. So at that point, of course, if they, by the Lord's will, they could also experience the uppercut pastimes or whatever simultaneously, or if he doesn't allow, then they won't. So it's all up to the Supreme Lord how he wants them to have their perceptions once they're within his pastimes in the material world. In the case of the gopis, he allowed that to happen to alleviate their feelings of separation.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dharma aviruddho kamosmi. So can that be applied to Kubja and all types of devotees, sadhana, bhava, and prema bhaktas?
Well, that's referring to kama in the material world, material kama. And therefore we have dharma to give regulation for that. We find the kama in the spiritual world is the opposite. No dharma. With the gopis, they reject dharma, so it's opposite. So they're not regulated by dharma at all. In fact, they surpass dharma in order to come to Krishna. So it's opposite. So that's referring to the kama in the material world.
In Vrindavana, Madhurya Rasa is a prominent. In Navadvipa, what is the rasa?
Well, all rasas are there within Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, but because Lord Chaitanya comes as a devotee, and he's not displaying himself as Krishna, and then those rasas are hidden. But we do have Madhurya Rasa because there is Gadadhar is Radha. So we have Madhurya Rasa between Gadadhar and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but not evident, it's not visible. The sentiments are there, but not visible. We have Vatsalya Rasa between the parents of Krishna, Jagannath Misra and Sachi and Lord Chaitanya like that, or between even Srivas Pandit and his wife and Lord Chaitanya. There's also some Vatsalya there. We have friendship rasa between Nityananda and his associates and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sakya rasa, but not explicit. None of these relationships explicit.
We see that, in the second line of this verse, it said, Sarvatma and Sarvadarshana. Regarding these two words, anyway, Krishna knows everything, and he's everywhere as well as he sees it. Can you say that this the purpose of Krishna to send Uddhava in Vrindavan, that to glorify the love of the gopis?
Well, yeah, especially and reveal that to the Yadus, that the people of Vrindavan were higher than the Yadus. So that was a revelation. And of course, it's also for the reader, persons who hear Bhagavatam, it's an example to show the intensity of the love of the Brajabasi and how it was superior to that of the people of Mathura. And even Uddhava was surprised by that intensity of the love. So, in other words, it announces to the people of the world the supreme position of the people of Vrindavan. And of course, at the end of the verses of Uddhava in his song, he glorifies the people of Vrindavan as the highest, and he aspires for just to get the dust of their feet.
Question, Maharaj, you have seen the Vishwanath commentary regarding this. Some say that the Krishna's pastimes in the material world is more attractive than in the spiritual world. So, can you say that this? Anyway, see, those who are participating in Krishna's pastime, especially different part like Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and different gopas and gopis, already they are there in the spiritual world. They cannot display this kind of pastime. What is happening in the material world? That's why they come in the material world.
Who?
Normally this associates like Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and rather the gopas.
Well,
gopis.
yeah. In this way, they experience a higher bliss.
So that is their desire, we can say.
Yeah, to satisfy the devotees.
But anyway, in the spiritual, this kind of desire, how can it come in their mind? This kind of desire, that okay, I will to serve Krishna now in this form, the spiritual world. How can this kind of desire come in the spiritual world? This desire means, that here we see Krishna different form.
Well, of course, the nature of the forms is that a Kaishor form is such that it attracts all the devotees in all the rasas. So in other words, they can appreciate the Vatsalya rasa of Nanda and Yasoda. They can appreciate Krishna in his Kaishor age. Somehow they still identify with Krishna as a small child, even in spite of the fact they see him like that. Yeah. But then actually Krishna is a small child, then they get to the experience in the pastimes in the material world.
You see the example of when Krishna went to Mathura, and Madhuri, Devaki was seeing Krishna like a small child, and from her breast and milk was flowing out of love and affection. So although Krishna is a Kaishori age, but they cannot see Krishna as a Kaishori age. They see Krishna like a small child always.
Yeah.
Even you see in the Kurukshetra also when...
Yeah. But still there's a little bit of a difference. So they appreciate him as a small child. Still, his form is a little different. So when he's actually the baby form, then they can actually, put him in a cradle and do things like this. Whereas he's big, they cannot do that. So there's a slight difference there.
I was reading some commentary of Ramayana. You said this line like Kubja.
And there's also activities. Krishna crawling around in the courtyard. He doesn't do that later on. So there's some activities that they were deprived of, Vasudeva and Devaki. They did not experience those growing years when Krishna was crawling, and then he turned over in his bed and he began to speak and all these things. So some details which are different.
I was reading some of the commentary that regarding this Kubja's previous identity. He said that she was like a Shurpanarka during Rama's pastime. She was Surpanarka.
Okay.
Is the Acharya support this statement?
Goswamis don't mention anything like that. No. I don't know. Some other commentaries maybe, I don't know. But not Goswamis. Haven't seen. Not Jiva, not Sanatan, not Vishwanath. As far as I know. Don't say anything about that.
None of the Acharyas, we see that they comment on Ramayana.
Huh?
None of the Acharya gives comment on
Our
Ramayana.
acharyas don't. They very rarely quote it even. I think there's only 2 quotations from the whole of Ramayana and the commentaries. 2 small verses are quoted. Not much. They don't even quote it hardly at all. Ramayana.
There is a commentary of 9th canto. The Vishwanath gave commentary because
Yeah,
there is also some Ramayana some there.
Yeah, a little bit of Rama's pastimes.